This episode and every episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show is brought to you by Ironmonger Brewing. Visit Ironmonger at their taproom in Marietta, Georgia, or online at ironmongerbrewing.com.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week, we're recapping the very best in Georgia beer. With me, as always, is the man who was voted unanimously the best in Georgia beers 2018, Brian Hewitt.
I want to thank all the little people. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Brian.
This is our third annual Best of Georgia Beer Awards. We'll cover the best beers, breweries, as well as beer bars and bottle shops. And new for this year, we'll see who is Georgia's best homebrewer.
That'll be fun to see, man. Yeah. There's some good homebrew in Georgia. I think that was a popular category to add this year.
There are some homebrewers that probably better than some brewers out there.
Sure there are. Yeah. Some of them working to go pro, but right now they're just doing their homebrew thing.
Yeah.
Brian, we're just back off Christmas break. We've had a good time. I had a good time. Had some good beers. You took a little road trip, correct?
I did, yes. I headed up to Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm going to hear about this, but we kind of went up there for a Christmas buffet luncheon type of thing at the Omni Grove Park Inn.
You drove to Asheville for a buffet? Okay.
All right. It's no ordinary buffet. It's 3 rooms of food.
This is no ordinary buffet.
3 rooms of food. There is one room dedicated to meat and various buffet style dishes, the casseroles and the things like that. There was another room that's all seafood and some salad, whatever vegetables. I don't know what those were.
Seafood and whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of whatevers and question marks in there. And then there was a whole dessert room, and it was quite wonderful, quite marvelous. And the Grove Park Inn is a beautiful place, a lot of history to it, so it's worth checking out if you go to Asheville. But I did go hit 4 breweries while I was there, and one really good beer bar. Zillicoa started off there. That's a great place. They're making some good beers. They focus on the farmhouse, a little wild, some barrel aging, the saisons. They had a number of saisons. It was those were good. I also went over to Eurisco, and that's an interesting combination there, Zillicoa and Eurisco, because Zillicoa actually makes their wort at Eurisco and then tanks it back. They put a tank that's on wheels on a truck and bring it back to their brewery to finish off.
So they're just more of a fermentory right now then, correct?
Yeah,
right.
You could think of that, and it's just one of those things where they realized to save funds, they could just not put in a brew house. They don't have one at all, so you just
not a bad way to go.
Just go rent some time or borrow some time from another brewery, and then take it back. So also hit Highland and got some Cold Mountain and Imperial Cold Mountain. Tim,
how was that one?
It was good. It was really good. I liked it.
Was it superior to regular Cold Mountain?
It's debatable. I think probably a little bit better. I liked it a little bit more. It wasn't the amazing thing I thought it would be, but yeah, it's good.
So, Brian, unfortunately, during our best 12 beers of Christmas, we had a bad experience with Cold Mountain.
That's right.
That's one I usually love. How was it there at the brewery?
I thought it was great. I thought it was just fine. In fact, everything I had at Highland was great. There wasn't an average thing. It was above average, I think, across the board for everything I had. Now, I didn't drink everything. They have a lot there. I kept it to samples so I could
You
get
were
home.
Ll of meats.
I was also
buffet,
full of meat, so yeah. And also hit Brumari, which was a fun little operation in the Whale, and had my, I think the specialist beer the entire time I was there was the Firestone Walker 22nd anniversary beer. That was
very nice.
Very delicious. What did you do, Tim?
I stuck around Atlanta for Christmas. I hung around here, got with some friends for Christmas, had a good time there. I had a 2013 Parabola. So also a little Firestone Walker action, which was really nice. Getting that old, you start to get some of the faded hop notes, the vintage quote unquote flavor to it, but still really nice. I enjoyed that quite a lot. Went down to Brick Store Pub on Christmas Day. They opened in the evening. Two of our great beer bars both opened Christmas evening here.
They know what's up.
They know what's up, man. So I went down to Brick Store in Decatur, had a few beers there. I got to try a collaboration that New Realm did with Brick Store Pub called Black Soul, which was a Mexican-style Imperial Stout. and that was a really nice beer. So I didn't get Mexican stout of it necessarily. It was kind of black peppery stout, imperial stout, black pepper, some spice notes, but it was really tasty. So other than that, man, I took it kind of easy. I didn't visit any breweries this week, Brian, which I think is the first week this year that I have not, except for Ironmonger. We always do our trip to Ironmonger. So
every time we step into the studio, we kind of are stepping into Ironmonger.
So Becky, an important question for you. What is the furthest you've ever traveled for a buffet?
Vegas. Yeah.
Okay.
The Vegas buffets are really good. You got to hit it right when breakfast is about to end and lunch starts. So that way you get the combo of both of them, both meals. Oh,
right.
So good.
Next level stuff there.
Yeah, that's your secret tip right there.
Now, did you fly there for the buffet?
Well, maybe.
Partially.
And visit family.
Partially. The family and the buffet.
Yeah.
And so if the family was there but the buffet was not, would you have still went on the trip? Maybe. We'll see. You know, that's actually, when I was out in Vegas, someone told me if you catch one buffet out there, to hit the Venetian's brunch buffet, Sunday brunch buffet. So before the last day I was there, before I came back, I did that. And I got to admit, it was impressive, man. It was really nice. My thing is they just had Edam shrimp. There was no peel 'em involved.
Also had that. I had the option of peel them and eat them or just eat them. You know what I did.
You went with the eat them, Brian. I know what you did.
Yeah,
I know how you roll there. Absolutely. Well, yeah, great week. Good Christmas stuff. Well, Brian, let's talk a little bit more about these awards. That's what everybody is tuning in for this week. So always a fun show, Brian. Yep. Very competitive this year. We got a lot of new breweries, a lot of new beers in Georgia. A lot of these categories were really, really tight. It's going to be fun to see how these turn out.
It will be. So to choose our winners, we ran the competition in 2 rounds. As you may have heard, a nomination round where voters wrote in their nominees for each category. Then we took the top 10, give or take, to a final voting round. We ran the categories for the best for 2018, where the nominees had to be open or the beer released between December 15th, 2017 and December 1st, 2018. And then another for overall best, where there were no date limits for the entries.
You know, Brian, as we were setting up, Becky actually had a question about this year's awards, didn't you, Becky?
I did. I really want to know, why wasn't my favorite brewery or my favorite beer on this list? Why wasn't it included?
You know, Becky, that's a great question. We actually have a really simple answer for that, and we're asked that every year. So we understand that people want to know this. The simple answer is either they did not receive enough nominations to move on to the final voting round, or they just didn't meet the requirements for the categories that they were entered into. All of our winners come from nominations and from votes from our readers and listeners. And so if your favorite wasn't there, maybe you should have nominated them.
We're looking at you, Becky.
Put that on you, Becky. Sorry.
It's all on you, Becky. You know, a fun example, we had one of our winners for Best Homebrewer was nominated in every single category, in some cases more than once. So no matter how good your homebrew is, and it could be really, really good, sorry, we just can't award you Georgia's best beer bar. We just can't do it.
Impressive to get that many nominations, though. That's good stuff.
I mean, his cellar is probably fantastic, or her cellar.
His or hers. Exactly.
His or hers.
Don't make any assumptions here, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Now, you know, we normally announce our beers of the week, but we're going to keep them secret on this show, and we'll talk about them as we kind of roll through our categories. We're drinking all award-winning beers this week, Brian.
We are.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, Brian, I think you got a little bit of stats that you're going to share with folks about Georgia beer and breweries.
I do have some Georgia beer and brewery stats. As of today, there are approximately 90 breweries and brewpubs in Georgia. So we say approximately because it's a bit of a moving target. You know, some breweries are open with little fanfare, and others are gypsies. They're here contracting or whatever, and it's hard to count them towards the total. So we got 18 new breweries and brewpubs that have opened in Georgia this year. There are approximately 20 others that are in planning or in the construction phase, and about a quarter of those are slated to open up in early 2019. Plus, there are a couple of others in planning that we have heard of, but we just don't have a lot of details about. If things progress as planned, Georgia should break 100 breweries and brewpubs by the end of 2019, giving us about 1% of all U.S. brewpubs and breweries.
We are the 1%
yes, we
of
are.
Craft beer, Brian. So
that's right.
It'll be interesting to see where we land, to see how many of these predictions. We also know about 1 or 2 that we know are coming, but we've been told we got to keep it secret for now. Well, we do need to take a quick break. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We'll be back very soon to recap the best of Georgia beer.
Hi, I'm Patrick Murtaugh from Hardywood Park Craft Brewery, and you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
It's Brian and Tim, the beer guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock and Alpharetta are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily, so that way you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and coming soon to Duluth in 2018. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the beer guys sent you.
Are you thinking about opening a brewery in the Atlanta area? If so, take a look at the Park at Georgetown. This unique community will feature a collection of restaurants, as well as a craft brewery within the new J.W. Holmes luxury development, Dunwoody Green. Conveniently located less than half a mile from I-285, this enclave of restaurants will be the gathering place in Dunwoody. Krim & Associates, the developer of the Park at Georgetown, wants to talk to you. For more information, call Todd Semrau at 404-226-6526.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Oh, God, here we go again. Dork alert.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you miss an episode, don't worry. All episodes are available as a podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss a show. Now let's get back on with the Best of Georgia Beer.
It's time for the awards, Brian. It's time for the moment we've all been leading up to.
That's
here.
right.
We're going to announce our winners, and we are going to start here with the best new IPA. Again, this is for an IPA that was released during the window up through December 1st of this year. And in the number 3 spot, we have Cherry Street's Juicy Susie, which we're actually sipping right now.
Yes.
We've got that. We actually have 2 of the 3 winners here with us tonight. So in the number 2 position, Monday Night comes in with their locals only. And in the number 1 spot, Sweetwater with their 420 strain G13 IPA.
Did you see that coming?
I did not, but I'm not surprised by it. How about you?
You know, I thought that it would make some sort of a showing being such a unique beer, but no, I didn't. I did not think it would
Take
top
the number
out.
1 spot.
I figured it was probably a 3 spot or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
I mean, with the Northeast, the tropical and the juicy and all of that being so popular, it's interesting for those that may not be familiar with the 420 strain, the G13. The bottle says we took an already dank IPA and married its hops with strain-specific terpenes and natural hemp-type flavor. This is a weed beer, Brian. This is a dank and sticky weed-smelling beer.
It is, but the terpenes, I'm told, all come from fruit, basically.
From fruit,
I
really?
believe it's fruit and not hemp. I was corrected on that when I said, "Oh yeah, you used the hemp." Oh, no, those are fruit terpenes. I'm like, okay.
So just the terpenes that happen to have those characteristics.
Exactly.
There. But it's super dank. I think there's people that are probably more familiar with the Hemper IPA out there. Hemper is a lot more intense in the aroma. When you pour a Hemper, it's going to fill up the entire building that you're in. When you pour a G13, probably people a couple tables over from you, or if you're in a small room, they're going to smell it. So it does give off that dank and that. But it got a lot of really positive feedback, and it is a really tasty beer. And one thing that Sweetwater said about it that I have to agree with, it's not about the gimmick. It's not all about the gimmick in this one. There's a solid IPA as a base there.
And there definitely is, yes.
And I've drank quite a few of these this year. I know that you've partaken as well.
I have, yes. And the Georgia beer drinkers agree. It's
Georgia
not just
beer drinkers agree.
Not just a gimmick.
The best IPA of 2018. So, Brian, what's up next for us?
So we've got the best new double or imperial IPA. Coming in the 3rd spot, we have Variance Double Cashmere, which I had recently. That's a very nice one. I agree with that. In the number 2 spot, we have Monday Night Cardigans of the Galaxy, which I love the name, actually.
It's a great name.
Solid beer. And in the number 1 spot, and this does not surprise me too much, Wild Leap's Alpha Abstraction Volume 3.
Right. All the Alpha Abstraction releases from them have been really popular. And we have an Alpha Abstraction here, but we got Volume 1, right, Becky?
Yeah, it was hidden in the back of my
I was going to
fridge.
say, that one's probably past its prime, but still.
I have a Volume 4 that just happened to pick up before this.
We're just jumping all around that number 3. But each time they've released it, people have been very excited for them to come out. Wild Leap's made a big impression this year. People have enjoyed a lot of their beers. So not surprising really to see that one on the list there with the talk of it.
all of the talk has been fantastic. I was wondering if we pour a mix of Volume 1 and Volume 4 in a glass and then pour out the part that's Volume 1, if we get 3.
You might.
By math,
yes.
Beer math, right?
Yeah.
I think that could work.
That could be it. We're going to have to try that and see how horribly it does not work. So, see what we get. Well, next up, Brian, we're getting into our best new wild or sour beer. And I'll say that the wild and sour beer category was one of our most competitive, where, again, like I mentioned in the first segment, we have a lot of new beers, a lot of new breweries in Georgia, a lot of new favorites. So the voting was divided across several beers and really, really close to get our top 3 winners there. So in the number third place, Brian.
Number third place.
In the number third place, we have Gate City with Party Starter. In second place, Monday Night again with Mischief Managed Raspberry. And then the number 1 spot, Brian, a beer that we pre-gamed with, Pontoon Snozberries Taste Like Snozberries. Did you get in on those Snozberries releases any this year?
I did. I went to some previews and I bought a little bit here and there, and I had them like slowly disappearing from the fridge, but I didn't buy a ton of them, but I didn't drink them very quickly either. And I just so happened to have one left for this show. It worked out pretty nicely.
Yeah, and that was another one people were excited about.
Oh, yeah.
They lined up for on release days. They look forward to them, and that's one that they're releasing in series.
Yes.
So this one that was nominated was the first release that was just called Snozberries Taste Like Snozberries, but they continue to do that in new variations, releasing them at the brewery, and people line up to get them.
Of all the ones on this list, the only one I knew that would be there was the Snozberries ones. I just knew based upon the local
just
chatter.
based on the chatter there,
Yeah.
it's expected that was on there. So what's up for us next, Brian?
So we got to get into the best new stout. So in the third place, the number third
place, right?
We have Creature Comforts Awaken My Love, and that's a tasty one. In the number 2 spot, we have Wild Leap again with Rolling Deep Cinnamon Roll Stout. And in the first place, we've got 3 Taverns Morning Smack. And I love that Morning Smack. I really do.
All good beers.
Yes, all of
and
them.
you know, when Rollin' Deep came out, it took me a little while before I got to try it. But I heard a lot of comments about it being a little too thin.
Sure.
I did not think it was. I thought the body was fine. It was lighter, but I didn't think it was too thin. I thought the flavors were good. And small, as you said, you had one of those.
Yeah, we cracked one open over the weekend, and it was good. It was definitely. I wish I had more.
Right. It's a great beer. I enjoyed it. It's good to see Wild Leap coming up there. Two wins already for them.
And I think it was intended to be drinkable. I think that was the point. It wasn't meant to be you have a tiny, tiny cordial glass of it and you're done. They want you to be able to drink that 12-ounce bottle or 12-ounce can, I think is what it was.
Yeah. Cans on that one. So, all right, now on to another new category that we have this year. We're going into the best new lager. And this was one that we've been requested to add in the last 2 years that we did it, but we just didn't really have a lot of lagers happening in Georgia.
Yeah.
So there's more this year. There's more competition. So we added the category this year. So let's see what we got. In the number 3 place, Pontoon again with Hazy River IPL. Coming in second place, a new old brewery, Atlanta Brewing Company's Homestand, which is one of their new beers that they launched on their rebrand there. And in first place, Gate City with the Carl Black IPL.
I'd heard that's an interesting one. I'd heard of that, but I don't know that I've ever seen it or had it. So
I don't think I've had it. Now, Carl Black, I believe, is a car dealership.
I think so. Yeah,
over there in Roswell. So I guess a collaboration or something they did for some event there. But I've obviously made an impression on Georgia Beer Drinker. But so what's up for us next, Brian?
So we have the best of new something different, and something different in quotes. So this could be just about anything, kind of a catch-all for any style that didn't fit in any of the other categories, whatever. So in the third spot, we've got Reformation Alani, a beer-wine hybrid. And you've got some of those for us.
I do.
To
we
check
have some
out.
Alani here today. We sure do.
That's a very, very festive, very colorful beer. It's it's
kind
very
of
happy.
rosé-ish.
Yeah.
There, so.
And the number 2 spot, we have Gate City again with Feed the Bears. It's a braggot. And in the number 1 spot, we have Monday Night's Last Will and Testament, a bourbon barrel old ale, and that is a delightful beer.
And I think I have one of those here tonight as well, Brian.
I hope you do, because I want to drink that
get into
again.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Brian, we're not going to roll into another category here because we're getting a little light on time in this segment. But what do you think of these first new categories that we're going through here?
Again, the lager situation was a surprise. I didn't know what to expect there, and I think the IPA section was probably the most easy to predict. I'm like, I can see all those. All those made a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely.
But the lager was very interesting to see where people were going to go with that.
And again, like I've said a couple times, very competitive this year. Very, very close races, and in some cases, 0.3% decided whether or not someone made the top three. So it's just a super tight race.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's braggots. I've enjoyed those. It's a fun, weird. That's a combination of beer and mead. Correct?
Beer and mead.
Yeah. That's a fun one to see in a list of winners. So
right,
I'm gonna have to check that
on
one
a
out.
beer list to have a braggot show up. That's something interesting. We need to get back over to Gate City soon. Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back soon with more of the best of Georgia beer.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Looking for a great way to promote your business? CedarStream has what you need. For apparel, stickers, signs, and banners, we're your one-stop shop. There are never any art fees or setup fees. And if you need your items quickly, there's no additional charge for rush orders. Whether you own a brewery, bar, bottle shop, or other business, CedarStream is ready to serve you. Visit cedarstream.com for more info or call 800-686-7488 for immediate assistance. CedarStream. We print America.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
The numbers all go to 11.
Does that mean it's louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KTEL 1490 AM and 99.7 FM in Walla Walla, Washington. Catch Beer Guys Radio on KTEL every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific. And now back to recapping the best of Georgia beer.
Brian, we went through several of the new beers of this year, the winners in the new beer categories. Next category up is the best new brewery. In the number 3 position, we have New Realm Brewing Company. In number 2 spot, we have Reformation Downtown Woodstock. In number 1, Pontoon Brewing. So, Brian, a couple notes on those. New Realm Brewing Company, for those that may not be aware, is the brewery started by Mitch Steele, formerly of Stone Brewing Company. Big, beautiful brewery on the Beltline here in Atlanta.
It's a lovely place. And
it
really
is.
good
It's gorgeous.
food, too.
The food's phenomenal. The food is phenomenal. Reformation just opened their new location in downtown Woodstock. And last year, Monday Night Garage won. And we had some people ask us, this is another Monday night brewery. If it's a new location, a new brewer, a new brew house, I think that's fair enough to say it's a new brewery.
Sure.
So Reformation Downtown Woodstock, the number 2 spot, and Pontoon.
Yeah.
Another popular one there. They got the, best new lager. They were mentioned there. And of course, the best new sour position. People are loving them some Pontoon Brewing.
They really are. It's, I keep forgetting that they opened so recently. They're, within the window. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, one I want to give an honorable mention or a shout out to, they were very close to being up in the winners bracket, Brian. Very close to making the top 3, but they're in Savannah, may not get as much exposure as some of the other breweries. Two Tides, one we've talked to, really enjoy them. They're doing really nice sour beers, IPAs, a lot in those categories. I think as they expand their distribution across the state, more people are going to take note of them.
All they have to do is try 6 Foot. That is a
6 Foot,
fantastic
that's
beer.
it, man.
Yes.
If you want a taste of Two Tides, get your hands on some 6 Foot.
I think we need to get into the best new brew pub. Yes, that's a separate category. And we have just the one. We have Beacon Brewing in LaGrange, Georgia. So as a side note, and not to take anything away from Beacon, they won this category during a nomination round where they were the only nominee that actually opened this year and received enough nominations to move on. The other top nominees were from 2017, and some of them did win in last year's awards.
Right,
Tim,
and they were not the only brew pub that opened this year, but they were the only one that had enough nominations to move forward. So,
Sure.
And Beacon, we went down there actually not too long ago.
That's right,
Brian,
yeah.
got to check them out. The beer was pretty good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the
saw
beers.
it.
They had one that I really enjoyed, a couple others that I thought were pretty good. Food was fantastic and nice folks there. Really cool little spot down there.
Yeah, it's a neat little spot. Yeah, a lot of fun happening down there in LaGrange.
Absolutely. So congratulations to Beacon Brewing in LaGrange, Georgia. I believe, Brian, that means that every brewery in LaGrange, Georgia has won an award this year.
All award-winning breweries, 100%
That's right.
award-winning breweries.
Every
LaGrange,
brewery in
yes.
LaGrange is an award-winning brewery. So next up, Brian, we have the best. Oh, we're moving into the overall category.
The overall.
Not the news. Moving into the overalls where they're not limited by a release date or anything, just the favorites. In the number 3 position, we have Gates Best Overall IPA. Did I
Yes.
say that already?
I don't think you did.
Am I repeating myself?
No, I don't think
So
you did.
we're into IPAs, Brian. The best overall IPA, we have Gate City's All Juice. In the number 2 position, we have Chattahoochee's Crow Hop IPA. And in the number 1 spot, a repeat from 2017 winner, Brian, Creature Comforts Tropicalia.
I'm not terribly surprised by that,
Not
Tim,
terribly
honestly.
surprised
Yeah.
there, right?
They have a lot more competition this year, so I thought, there's a chance that they might get edged out, but
I think because they expanded their production of that beer a
Sure.
lot. They opened a second brewery where they could do more production. And so I think a lot of the chatter online died down because a lot of the chatter before was, where can I find this beer?
where can I get it?
So now that they're making more and it's more readily available, people are just buying it and enjoying it rather than asking where they can get it. So even though the hype online may have died down, obviously people are still buying and enjoying their Tropicalia. It's the very favorite IPA in all of Georgia.
So let's talk about the best overall double or Imperial IPA. In the third position, we've got Gate City's OTP. In the number 2 spot, we have Creature Comforts Cosmic Debris. And in the number 1 spot, we have Orpheus's Transmigration of Souls. And that's I'm not too surprised by that being the top one. There's a lot of chatter about Transmigration of Souls. It just has
The
lasting.
TOS challenge, Brian.
That's right. It's got staying power and that challenge. I've yet to actually do it. I
think Jason is actually opposed. Jason Pellet, the brewmaster and founder of Orpheus Brewing, I believe he is against the Transmigration of Souls challenge. The TOS challenge.
As a brewer, I think you would want to be opposed to that because
Sure.
that might lead to problems.
It's irresponsible. It's ridiculous and irresponsible.
Should we explain what it is? Or
We
just let
should,
it-
yeah. You know what? Tell us about it, Brian.
So the Transmigration of Souls challenge is to get a 6-pack of Transmigration of Souls and drink all of it.
Just drink straight through it. One
in a
setting, set down, and knock it out, right?
And the important thing to know is that I believe that's a 10% ABV double IPA or Imperial IPA. So it's really tasty. I'm a big fan of it, and I think I've done as many as 3 or 4, and you feel it. I mean, 3 or 4 10%ers.
Yeah, 3 as far as I've gotten.
Yeah, just if you want to do anything the next day or 2, you really can't make it through the challenge.
Do not complete the challenge. It's a bad idea. Well, Brian, moving on, we have the best overall for wild or sour beers. And again, with the new categories and with these very, very close competition-wise in this one, very small percentages separating the different winners and even those that didn't quite make the top 3. In the number 3 spot, we have Variants Raspberry Lemon Goza. Number 2 position, 3 Taverns Rapturous. In the number 1 spot, Creature Comforts Athena. So what do you think of those, Brian?
I'm not terribly surprised by that. Rapturous is a great beer. Athena makes me think about all of the possible variants, but if they didn't mention a variant, they went.
And I will say that they didn't mention a variant, and we have to take nominations at face value.
You've got to,
because a lot of the beers that were released this year had several variants. I think that hurt some of our nominees because either people didn't list a variant, and maybe they meant to. Some beers that only had variants didn't get a variant listed, so they were not eligible. Others, if they had several variants, everyone had a different favorite, so it didn't add up to enough to bring them up in the nominations.
It's tough voting for some of these beers, and that Raspberry Lemon Goza is really nice too.
They're all 3 great beers, absolutely.
I'm kind of surprised not to see Splody. Speaking of variants, that was
correct.
That was a big like popular hyped, like people chase it, comes out, and
it was
didn't see it on here, so I'm a little surprised by that.
That was right up there in Snosberry's hype territory, the Splody variants.
Yeah. And it's it would be I'd be hard pressed to decide which would be the best, but they're very similar styles, very much the fruit smoothie beer.
The
kind of.
smoothie
Yeah,
beers.
yeah,
Absolutely.
basically. So I guess we need to get into the best overall stouts. And in the number 3 spot, we have Orpheus's Abandon All Hope. In number 2, we've got Scofflaw's Vanilla Absentium. And in the number 1 spot, and this is probably not going to surprise anybody from Atlanta, the Wrecking Bar Mexican Siberius Maximus.
I can't argue with any of these, Brian. I can't argue with those.
They're all really good. Abandon All Hope is wonderful. Vanilla Absentium's great. Mexican Siberius, I mean, it's just known. It's known to be one of the finest beers around. So.
We were chatting with the guys here at Ironmonger Brewing a little bit earlier, and they were talking about the second anniversary stout from Scofflaw, which is a coffee vanilla stout. And they were pouring some of that, and we got a sample. That's delightful. It was very good.
Really impressive. That's really impressive.
But there's I think we've got a lot of good stouts here, man. We really do. We do. So, to see these on there, all 3 really good nominees for these. And Wrecking Bar, the Mexican Siberius, I have a bottle of that here.
I'm looking at it.
That we're gonna get all up in, Brian. What was your favorite stout this year?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think that Mount Fang from Three Taverns was pretty top notch. I mean, Abandon All Hope. I love Orpheus and their multi-hour boils and the just super thick thing that they have. It's all about the boil, Brian. Yeah, they're boil boys.
Boil boys, yes.
It's really tough to pick, but Mount Fang was really good, and some of the other ones from Three Taverns have been wonderful. A little surprised not to see them, but I'm not surprised when I look at the list again. So
that's it.
Tough.
When you get into some of these, you have Mount Fang versus Abandon All Hope versus Mexican Siberius. Versus all these other beers, it's tough. It's hard to pick a favorite because there is some really good stuff there. Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we're going to be back very soon to wrap up the very best of Georgia beer.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
We are Reformation Brewery, celebrating the reformer in you. Locally crafted within the renowned Etowah watershed of Woodstock, Georgia, Reformation creates yeast-forward brews full of aroma and flavor crafted to last. Come see us in beautiful Woodstock, Georgia, for a tour and tasting of unique brews that you can't find anywhere else. Reformation Brewery, set beer free. ReformationBrewery.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Your revolution is over, Mr. Lebowski. Condolences, the bum's lost.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons can get some cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now more of the best of Georgia beer.
Brian, we are on to the best lager, the best overall lager for the year. In the number 3 position, we have Pontoon's Hazy River IPA. IPL.
Yeah.
In the number 2 position, we have Gate City's Carl Black IPL. And in the number 1, there's that Creature Comforts I expected to see, Creature Comforts Classic City Lager. What's up next for us, Brian?
So then we're looking at the best overall, something different. And I feel like I'm the right guy to do something different for beers. So,
I agree. Yes. I agree.
In the 3rd spot, we have Second Self's Thai Wheat. And in the 2nd spot, we have Gate City Feed the Bears. Again, that was the braggot, right?
Is that the braggot?
I believe that
I do
was
not
the
recall.
Feed the Bears.
Is that the braggot?
That was the braggot.
The reference to bears makes me think honey, so I'm
honey
thinking
and
braggot.
bears.
Yeah.
Feeding the bears.
Yeah, that's right. You got to feed them. And in the number 1 spot, we have Monday Night Bourbon Barrel Drafty Kilt.
I'm not surprised by that one. That is a delicious beer. And, great beer. Not surprised to see that in the something different category. I'm a big fan of Thai Wheat. as well.
That's a solid beer.
It's to me, it's a good food beer. If you're having some Asian food, you're having some sushi or maybe some pad thai, that really goes really nice with it.
And I think I see that Bourbon Barrel Draft to Kill won by a large margin in that category.
It did.
Yeah.
That was actually, I think, the largest margin of any of our winners. They got almost 50% of the overall votes, Brian. Which is, I mean, we had some with 12% taking the first place spot because it was such a very divided category, but not in this one. Monday night, Bourbon Barrel Draft to Kill, 50%, almost 50% of the votes in that category. Yep. Next up, we're getting into that homebrewer category that we mentioned, Brian, and this one's that is just for fun. I had some people mention that this was an interesting addition. You know, not everybody that's into craft beer is going to know homebrewers,
Sure.
But this category was there, Brian, for those that do know the homebrewers, and I think it's good to promote homebrewing, to let people know about what is out there.
And there's some really well-known homebrewers that are on
there
that
are
made
some
the
very
list,
well-known homebrewers. Some of them have actually collaborated with breweries, done beers, served at Hunapoo's Day,
Indeed.
won awards at Hunapoo's Day. But without further ado, in the number 3 position, we have Hamp Covington of Missouri Brewing, and they have Hamp and Dan. Dan Goodfriend passed away unexpectedly from
sadly.
an accident a couple years ago. Missouri Brewing, they have served at Hunapoo's Day and won awards there. They do fantastic beers. In the number 2 spot, kind of I don't know if up-and-comer is the right word, but John's just been really getting, John Sherry of Little Cottage Brewing has just been getting a lot of publicity over the last year or two with his beers. He does some great stuff and very well known and liked.
Oh,
on the
yeah,
home
big
brewing
following,
circuit there.
yeah.
In the number 1 position, we have Jay Brantley. And Jay, shout out to you, Jay. Congratulations, Jay, because we hinted to this in the intro segment, but Jay was nominated in every single category. Best beer bar, best brewery, best new brewery, best brew pub, best beer fest, Jay Brantley.
Yeah,
right there.
best IPA overall, Jay Brantley.
So that's congrats, Jay. You've got some very, very dedicated fans, and you're the number 1 best home brewer in Georgia, according to the folks that voted in our poll.
All right, let's check out the best overall brewery. So in the number 3 spot, we have Variant Brewing. In the number 2 spot, we've got Monday Night Brewing. And in the number 1 spot, we have a surprise. Nah, not so much. It's Creature Comforts.
Yeah, no surprise there. So what do you think of the list altogether?
That's a good list. Part of me really wanted to see Atlanta Brewing Company make a showing here.
Sure.
But I understand that they've got a long history and they're still changing people's minds about who they are, what they do.
It takes a minute to turn the ship around. They've done a fantastic job of it. If you had to pick your favorite brewery, putting you on the spot, Brian, you're number 1 in the state.
Oh, man, that's so tough. Oh.
3, 2.
I think I'd have to go Creature Comforts. I think I might still have to go
Fair
there.
enough.
It would pain me to say that.
Yeah.
So that's...
All right. Smalls, how about you?
It was really hard for me when I was voting for this category because I absolutely love Monday Night Brewing. I go to the garage a lot. Folks might see me down there. And then I'm also a Sours girl, so Orpheus is
Orpheus. Orpheus. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
That's just it. We get to talking about this. There are several that would really be in that list. I would have to say Creature Comforts just for the overall variety. And some of my absolute favorite beers come from them. But Monday Night, Orpheus, 3 Taverns, Atlanta Brewing Company. I mean, they're all very Wrecking Bar.
Wrecking Bar for sure.
You know, they're all very close behind. Well, Wrecking Bar is a brew pub.
Cherry Street. I mean, Cherry Street, the Dame beer, man. It's so hard to pick a favorite. You have to say no to all the rest of them. It's very hard to say no.
Just say no, Brian.
I have difficulty saying no.
You
when
just
it comes
say
to
yes,
beer.
right?
I always say yes. I'm a very receptive person.
Well, Brian, speaking of some of our favorite brew pubs, why don't you tell us the winners in those categories?
Yes. So the number 3 spot is owned by Torch Top. In number 2, we've got Cherry Street, a favorite of mine. And in number 1, we've got Wrecking Bar, also a favorite of mine. I like all of these breweries, Tim.
I mean, not a shocker there with those winners. Good stuff. One that's kind of new, I think, is really good. Good Word up in Duluth.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Another really good one. So, definitely worthy of mention, worthy of note if you're looking at Georgia
Absolutely.
beer. The Good Word Brewing is fantastic. Well, moving on to the Best Beer Fest. In the number 3 position, we have Strong Beer Fest. In number 2, Roswell Beer Fest. And the number 1 beer fest is Decatur Beer Fest. And I think that's kind of a perennial favorite, Brian.
It's had a cult
Decatur
following
Beer
for a
Fest
while.
has a following. I do want to mention something. A fest that we really enjoyed. We broadcast a show from there. We recorded the show there. Day of the Juice.
Oh, yes.
I do want to mention this. Day of the Juice was in 4th place here.
Oh, so close.
By 0.6% compared to the number 3 position. So that's how close this voting was. They were 0.6% in 4th place, and definitely one worth mentioning and checking out there.
And the interesting thing is they've done it just the one time, and these others have done it over numerous years.
Right.
So.
And I think they've got the Return of the Juice.
Yeah, the Return of the Juice.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Return of the Juice.
So it's coming back. Worth checking out, man. Very good festival. Absolutely. So, Brian, what's next for us there, sir?
So we need to start looking at the best beer bar. And so at number 3, we have Truck and Tap,
a Beer Guys Radio supporter.
That's
sponsor.
Right.
They've been with us since day one.
Day
Brian.
one.
Yeah.
Much love for Truck and Tap. At number 2, we have The Porter. And at number 1, you have to know what this is going to be. It's the Brick Store Pub.
Brick Store Pub.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you say the best of Georgia, Porter and Brick Store always come up.
Yes.
It's a close race with which one is the favorite. They're both phenomenal, and they're both going to be mentioned.
If I had to predict which of these would be number 1 and which would be number 2, it would be a roll of the dice for me.
It would.
I wouldn't
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah, because they both have things about them that are phenomenal, and I enjoy both spots quite a lot. So, Brian, our final category here. We're getting close to the end of our awards. Best Bottle Shop. In the number 3 position, we have El Yeah. In the number 2 position, Sprayberry Bottle Shop. And in the number 1 spot, Hop City Craft Beer and Wine. So, what do you think of those?
That's some tight competition there. Bridge up at Sprayberry has got a lot of great stuff happening. He's got a lot of engagement in the community, and he's very popular. But Hop City, I mean, they're a contender. They've got a lot of operations out there. Going there is amazing. It's like going kid in a candy
Absolutely.
store. It's fantastic what they have there. I love stopping by when I can. Fortunately, it's not closer to my house.
Yeah, or you'd be there all the time.
I'd be there all the time. It'd be a problem.
Sprayberry Bottle Shop, one thing, they have a limited amount of real estate, but Bridge used every inch of that shelf space there.
He rings it out. All of those square footage, just ringing them out.
Every bit of them. There's always new and exciting stuff there. Hop City, fantastic selection of American craft beers, a lot of imports, Belgian beers, German ales, and the same with El Yeah. El Yeah is one, when I'm looking around at the new release beers each week, El Yeah always gets some really interesting, Belgian and German beers that you may not see other places. Well, Brian, that's it, man. Those are our best of Georgia beer of 2018.
Is that everything?
That's everything that I can remember.
Why wasn't my favorite a winner?
Because your opinions are horrible and your palate is like a goat.
Okay, well, that's fair.
That's fair enough, right? So what do you think overall?
I think it's good results. Good results. A lot of them I predicted. Some of them I didn't. A lot of it's interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes next year, and I think we have an idea or two of things we might possibly add, tweak, maybe.
Sure.
And
we'll see.
Obviously we have new people coming on all the time, so we'll get to see what they do.
Smalls, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, there's a few of my personal favorites that didn't make the list, but there are a lot of my favorites on this list, so I can't complain too much.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. I've had a lot of fun, Brian, recapping the best of Georgia beer. I'm already looking forward to next year's awards, Brian. It's going to be a good time. Coming up next week, it's a new year. 2019 is coming. Almost sounds futuristic.
What?
But we're going to be talking beer and football. We're going to talk to San Jose's Camino Brewing just ahead of the 2019 College Football National Championship game in their area. For more craft beer info, make sure to follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.